Part 3, how? Let's fix this issue. Let's fix this issue. All right, I'm gonna first, no matter how hard, whatever I tell you right now, I'm sure I made you curious. So most of you who are gonna try to say, well, Sorescu is right now, right? You're gonna start researching, right? You're gonna start Googling. You've been doing that for a long time and you're gonna keep doing it. But I'll teach you how to do it, don't worry about it. Here's how I do it. First of all, you need to learn another psychological trick, and it's called the dunning-kruger effect. It's a cognitive bias. People with low ability at a task overestimate their ability. Let me explain to you. If you were the relation between knowledge and competence and actually our conviction, how confident we are that we actually know this thing, is actually not linear. 25% of us overestimate our level of confidence. Actually, we don't know nothing about that subject, but we think we know everything. 25% we actually underestimate how much we know. And then the rest is somewhere in the middle. It's a process. Perfect example is learner permit and kids. I don't have to tell you, they're here. They get high from it. They think they got the learner permit. They're going to drive safe. Okay? And we all know that's not going to happen because it takes another few years of experience until they get there. So just because you TikTok it for 15 seconds in a 10-second clip, and you heard something that sounds like interesting, plausible, and there's disassociation, doesn't mean it's causation. I'll give you a perfect example of what happens. So the source of our convictions and the biggest source of false facts about nutrition is actually our personal culture or political beliefs, unless you come from a tradition. I'm talking about nutrition, by the way. Don't go the wrong way here. Nutrition beliefs. Unless we have been trained and we have been passed on generation from generation, like in an old traditional Greek cuisine from some grandma who knew that, who somehow carries over the experience of 2,000 years worth of culinary art tradition. Unless you have that, your personal beliefs and your political beliefs can only lead you to exactly opposite from what it means to eat healthy. My friend said, my doctor says, I know that 80% of my colleagues are telling you the wrong thing, maybe more. We are not educated enough. I can tell you that for sure. That's why I'm trying to change that. Not because we mean bad. That's how we've been educated. And we don't spend enough time for that. Okay, we're overwhelmed with other things. I'm not saying that's an excuse. So then what do? If you do that, you're to the child's healing. You think you know. So then you start to apply what you think you know. Well, cut 500 calories a day or whatever you think you like to have to lose weight. How many of you has tried to lose weight? Okay, and the reason is because what you thought was your conviction that you know about the subject, whatever you think you've done your research and you Google it, you did everything right, but it's not working. Well, welcome to the honest truth. You actually don't know anything. Because if you did, it worked. It's very simple. So I'm trying to tell you the other way around. Here's how I don't know how you get to the information is going to make a difference. But the best way is to research on your own body. Let's say you have a conviction and you think, this is what I want to try. Research on yourself. Don't listen to anybody. Don't listen to me. Try it. Cut one bad food element that everybody agrees. Ultra-processed food is bad for you. I'm going to get off for about a month. And let me try. Look objective criteria. Okay, did I lose this weight? And I really tried to do it. I want to see what Sorescu is right or wrong. Get my doctors to check my labs, my cholesterol, my whatever markers were before and after. And then see if it makes a difference. And then, I don't care why you did it, how you got there. If that works for you, keep going. And some people, for most of the people, would be enough to just cut the ultra-processed food. And that I'm advertising to you today, what I know that no matter what needs to go away is bad. I don't know what's going to go for a given patient or person. Things may be different. Some people just need to go on Mediterranean diet or work just fine for them, depending on their genetic background. Some people may need cut completely carbs to almost keto diet. Okay, as long as supervised and done well by people who know what they do. Some people need to eat meat. They're meatitarians, and they do just great with that. Everybody's a little different. There is no particular diet that will be absolutely perfect. Sometimes you got to try different things that will work for you. But until you actually try and look objective, all bets are off. That's number one. And that's why we have so many different diets, because actually they all work, just for different people. That's it. The key is, though, you can't have the ultra-processed version of it, because there is no, Cheetos are vegan, Fritos are vegan, okay? And that's how I have the number one. I mean, I almost know if somebody says it's vegetarian or vegan, it's like two hits. Either I never see them because they do it right, or when I see them, they're extremely sick, and I can't get them better because they eat processed vegan version, and they will absolutely refuse to eat anything else but that. And we're in trouble when that happens. So, but bottom line is, let's see, you do that, then you can get to that hill where I am right now, I like to believe, after 10 months and 20 years studying this. And that's how you know. Okay? And the reason why you shouldn't Google it, and I mean, by now we're going to call it ChatGPT, because we're upgrading now. That's going to be interesting. All right? But basically, 99% of the information, somebody wants to sell you something. The information is so polluted, there's almost no reason to believe there is any other good intention anymore. It's insane for most of the information. So one is the big pharma, and we all blame and point fingers at drugs. No, that's actually not the bigger one. The bigger one is the food and the supplement and extract industry. Just the fish oil supplements a $4 billion market. And, I don't have a problem, but show me, you give me the actual real product. Don't give me, disaster. Because if I want that stuff, I can just do my own French fries at home. All right? And that's my problem. So of course they're going to have to sell you something. Of course the information is wrong. And unless you have my brain, when some other people have been doing this for 20, 30, 50 years and they have background in science, they're going to fool you. They fool me. I can tell you, any new paper I read, wherever out of two that I read first time, at least one falls apart on a second investigation. When I look again and I verify what's going on, and I read between the lines. It takes a lot of experience to get that, just like with driving. You have to accumulate experience to become a safe driver. And sometimes you have to have 5 accidents first, okay? But bottom line is, to keep it simple, any diet works as long as it's from whole foods and not ultra-processed. And you rather go Mediterranean, you want to go keto, just make sure if you're a patient on keto or Mediterranean, I need to know as a physician if you take insulin, because I'll have to work with you, because I know you're going to have to stop some of that insulin and change your medicines. So pick the low carb or the low fat diet. I don't care, as long as natural, whole food. Why? Because if you have your fiber from salads, you're going to stop being hungry, and you're going to be full, and you're going to have healthy carbs and protein that are actually used as nutrition by your body. But if you go with the other version, the unhealthy refined carbs or fat version, then I cannot help you, although you may think you're doing the right thing. Hold on a second, the computer is kind of blocked. Okay, so we're still good? Okay, wow. Something must be wrong with me. All right. 46 years old. I'm going to start, in terms of really how to do it, I'm going to start the best is with a patient that actually is here today. She's 46. I have seen her in the clinic for about 20 years, since she was in her 20s. Basically, she's had type 2 diabetes on insulin, 100 units, since age 17. And in December, after being admitted every 2 weeks in the hospital, I witnessed how her ejection fraction went from normal over 20 years to 10-15%. Basically, she had no heart, no kidneys in December. She pretty much was told, because unfortunately, she wasn't tolerating the medicines. She even tried Ozempic to lose weight. This is her BMI, was almost 270 pounds. She couldn't do anything, couldn't walk 20 feet. And because the kidney, the heart, everything was so bad, and she was too, she had too much obesity, she wasn't a candidate to get a heart transplant. So pretty much she started to cry. I see her in the hospital, and she said, what can I do? And I said, well, there's always something that I asked you to do for the last 15 years. I said, let's try to eat healthy and see how that goes. It's like, What good that gonna do? Now, what do you have to lose? Let's try. So after being admitted twice a month, and that was a hemoglobin A1C of 12, and I told her, she said, okay, let's try it. But I really want you this time to listen to me. So everything you eat for the next 3 days, you're going to take a picture, send it to me, and then I'll clean your food. Fine. So we did that. And this is another example of patient, but I had patients that this is how frustrating. Anybody's been in the hospital and been a patient, you know that feeling, okay? But bottom line is, here's 10 months later. She's lost 67 pounds. She's 200 pounds. She has a BMI that now at 35, it's actually compatible with heart transplant. So actually we can save her life if this gets worse. Her diabetes has been cured. 5.8, 5.7 is upper limit on normal. She almost doesn't even have pre-diabetes anymore. She's off after I started to work with her, and all I did, I just cleaned up the altar process. It's not a particular diet. If you want, we could call it Mediterranean, but really nothing special. Just healthy eating, pretty much like I eat. Basically, she was off insulin after being told that she has type 1 diabetes since day 17. I got her off insulin within 3 days of healthy eating. You know, she's taking medicines, now tolerating some medicines to make the heart stronger. Her ejection fraction actually is 20-25% now. And no heart failure admission. No admission. She was every 2 weeks in the hospital. And she can walk from 20 feet was before, 6,000 to 10,000 steps. That's 2,000 steps like a mile. So there are days, and I know because she's texting me every day, that she basically walks 3 to 5 miles a day. So that's what happened by just cutting the junk food. The point is, why the same person that before was not listening to me, now was willing to listen to me? And what makes us change that? If you cannot get to yourself to that level of, of depth when you talk to yourself, you're not going to change anything. And I think the best is to see this as an act of survival. We always think it's a matter of taste when we try to change something that we know is bad for us, but we like it. No. If you are the one who is sick, it's not a matter of taste. Doesn't mean you'll never have that good taste again. All I'm asking, until we get you better, postpone that. But until you understand that this is not a taste, and it's actually has to be meaningful and profound and change the purpose in your life enough, you're not going to conquer the addiction and the difficulty to go through this. So going back to the other slides about, what works for me, and I Google it and whatever is, actually 99% of the failures, you actually don't mean it. You actually haven't done it properly. Even if you had a good plan, when you say that failed and that. So I didn't even talk about implementation of it because we fail to implement what we do unless we start thinking and have a higher pursuit and a higher meaning. To give you an example, if I were the contribution of meaning in life, people who have meaning in life, whether they are religious, whether they are Mother Teresa kind of pursue, whether they want to be doctors and whatever, save the world, it doesn't matter. If you have long-term meaning in your life, you live 7 years longer than the ones who don't. That extends your life by itself 7 years. I'm going to give you a comparison. What if, like a magic wand, I could cure cardiovascular disease and cancer? You know what? I'm going to remove this forever from any humans. How many extra years of life do you think we're going to live? 7. The same. So if you believe and you do that, and you believe that that's important, and you are not disabled and survive, and you don't make it optional taste, you're going to win this. I almost don't care how you do it as long as you just follow simple principles. And if you do, if you don't, it doesn't matter. That's what's the most important part. So now let's see what did I tell her? How did I fix this in 3 days? I mean, I didn't fix it. She did all the work, but I'm going to show you the principles. All I did, I just give her some guidance, really. And bottom line, I show her this. Well, can you eat like this? Do you think any of you would enjoy this? How long it takes to do this? 20 minutes? It's not really that hard. All right? What about this? For breakfast, 3 eggs, and some veggies. 10, 15 minutes. All right. What about, oops, what about this? The stew may take a little while, but not if you have an Instapot, and then grilled chicken with a lot of veggies, salmon in place. This is not hard to cook. It takes 20, 30 minutes at most. I'm not asking you to become a chef. I'm not asking you to spend 6 hours in the kitchen. It's not that hard. That's all she did. And so what else it takes? So as I mentioned, it takes commitment and a higher pursuit and meaning that is focused not, oh, I want to lose some weight. That's not going to ever work. I mean, the only reason why you can't lose weight, you're not motivated enough to, override the hardship that it means an addiction to sugar. That's it. But if you say it's a matter of survival, I actually asked her, what made you, why you couldn't do this before? I've been asking you for 20 years. She said, I wasn't listening. The meaning was not there. And that's commitment is important. Second is, you have to do it with a coach. It's extremely difficult to do it by yourself. So it's good to have a coach, whether usually I love when I see the man who's my patient coming with a wife or a significant female other. Oh my God, they don't know what they're going to hit them, but I don't talk for them. They know. I talk for the significant other when they come and I explain to them. That helps huge because it makes you accountable. Don't expect you're going to be comfortable. If you want to be comfortable, you'll never win anything. You're done. Okay, it doesn't matter how amazing is your knowledge and you know exactly how to do it. It doesn't matter that somebody cooks for you. We actually have the data. We have randomized study of people who were given the actually healthy meal and they will not eat it. Okay, so it couldn't get any easier than that. It does, and they will go across the street and eat the other stuff. So it doesn't matter. All right, do it with the family. It's much easier, and everybody buys into it because it's very difficult to have different standards. And it starts with, you cannot control your environment outside of the house, but you can control what's inside the house. You have to clean your house first. You don't do that, you're not going to resist the temptation. You saw me how much I talk about sugar and honey and everything. Well, my wife can tell you, she buys ice cream, and from here, because I've been stressed out, I'm going to go home. If I have ice cream in the fridge, I'm going to eat it. So we have a pact. We can only buy one day a week when we're going to all enjoy this dessert. And that's the only way it's going to work. Don't assume you're going to have, you're not going to fail to temptation, because you will. All right? So that's important. And then the next thing, after I saw she was getting a little better, her sugar was controlled, she was off insulin, we started to do some exercise. And little by little, we got to where she is now. If you have Medicare, you have heart failure, I can actually refer you for cardiac rehab. You can ask the doctor. It's very important to actually go up on your protein. If you cut the junk food protein, you need to replace them with real food protein. As a matter of fact, my focus with each and every of these patients that I work with, I want to make sure they have enough proteins in their diet. And that's very important, and I will explain to you why. But first, I want to tell you one rule that makes a big difference. Anybody knows about Pareto principle? Pareto principle in business, okay, says that for a given company, if you have 100 workers, 80% productivity is given by 20 workers. So only 20 workers out of 100 will take up 80% productivity. This is actually the real root, square root of the number of workers. It's even worse than that. It's only 10, 15. But anyway, that's a different story. So I'm applying the Pareto principles for what's the most significant impact for your health. 20%, that will take 20% of the effort, if you could do it, is cut the ultra-processed food, replace it with whole foods. That doesn't mean we cannot improve more, and you can individualize for a certain person. But that's all it takes. Huge difference in the outcome, metabolic health. And some of us may need drugs for obesity, like Ozempic or Mounjaro. That's fine. Then some will need keto, some will need vegan, some will need Mediterranean diet. It's irrelevant what kind of diet you do, as long as you replace the ultra-processed food with the whole food. And then the rest of 80% is going to be where the effort comes, is the exercise. It's the sleep and reduction of stress. Because sleep and stress work on that amygdala that I was telling you about. It enhances everything. And that's when you lose control over the rules that you have established that you like to do. You can't pursue them. It doesn't matter. So yes, you do need that. But most of the work, if you can somehow stick with no ultra-processed food, is done. and you're metabolic healthy. It's just you may not lose weight as much as you want. If you want to do that, you have to back up with the other stuff. So the first rule, clean your house from ultra-processed food. If it's not in the house, you won't eat it. I mean, I know there are some desperate people at 11 p.m. they will go and drive to the gas station and have some. But I would say that will discourage 99% of people from doing it if you don't have it there. All right? And I know exactly, I can name one person who will do that. But anyway, how to lose weight if your house is full of junk food? And actually, there's this woman, she's British, who volunteered for free to go and clean people's house from junk food. It's fascinating. It's a whole story on the internet. So, you got to start with clean your house. And you could say, well, what about government making these rules, or about food companies being, forced to do this, cut the sugar? Well, we knew about smoking for 60 years. It took 30 years just to change the laws that you are not allowed to smoke next to the other person or in the airplane. Knowing already. So it's going to take some time. Maybe one day we'll have that. Do you want to, and then it took another 30 years to implement the laws. And it wasn't because we actually did it. It's because the people who opposed it died. The young kids that we teach them that sugar is not good for you grew up and even may not listen right away. Eventually, they know and they will vote. And then eventually, 20, 30 years later, we're going to change some laws. But until then, you cannot control the environment outside of your house, but you can control in your house. And that makes a big difference. I try to control that at work in our nursing station. And I did succeed to get everybody hiding away from me when I get in the room. All right? It's not working yet, but I think we're getting there eventually. All right? So cook from how to do it. You cook from whole food, minimize eating out. You don't have to be this chef extraordinaire. I'm going to show you dishes. Most of them are done in less than half an hour, or you can cook batch for a whole week. You don't have to necessarily spend that much time in the kitchen. You need, whatever you do, you need to increase your fiber and the micronutrients I'm talking about basically you need to feed the gut. Cut the sugar, the white starches, the bad fats. Why? Alcohol, branching, you protect the liver. So the goal is feed the gut with the fiber, protect the liver from the poisons, and support your brain with omega-3s from marine fish and avocado and nuts. Also, I'm adding this, give a break to your gut. Really, we're not supposed to, we're not meant to eat 8 times a day. I mean, anybody who thinks I need a snack, you're just delusional. No, you want a snack. There's a difference between want and need. And that's okay. And I'm going to teach you how you can avoid that. But don't say that I need to eat because I'm hungry. Unless you're on insulin and you took too much insulin, obviously it's a survival problem. But ideally, I would give a break to your liver and your gut for about 12 hours of fasting, if it's possible. Don't eat all the time. And then, last but not least, add some exercise there. 30, 60 minutes a day, 5, 6 times a week. Don't worry, we're not talking about exercise. So, but think this way. If you want comfort and convenience and someone else to cook, comfort today is disability tomorrow. That is what's in it for you. And if you don't believe me, keep doing it, and you will be my patient. There is no other version. If you will have, doesn't mean you're going to have to be stressed out. Oh my God, I got to cook 6 hours a day. That's a completely different story. It's actually not that hard, and the same with the exercise. But whatever you do, it's a must. You need to do it for yourself. Just a simple thing. Until 10,000 years ago, we never used to eat grains. 10,000 years ago, we developed agriculture. We figured that out, so we switched to grains. So what happened? How come we only started to get sick in the last 100, 200 years? You know why? Well, I grew up as a farmer in rural Romania. As a kid, from age 7, about 4 or 5 months a year, our chores was working the land 12, 14 hours a day. So yeah, you can eat greens if you actually work that hard for 12, 14 hours a day. But what they do, we kept the grains and we processed them. And then we spend half of our life in front of the computers. How do you think that's going to work out for our body? It's different. And I'm not saying you should work the land 12 hours a day, then you can indulge in your ice cream. But you will need to put in at least a good 2 hours a day if you want to stay healthy. It doesn't work. It doesn't matter what you eat and what you do. That's not how we've been designed. Okay? So, but one thing, there's no point of working out if you start losing some weight if you don't work on your proteins. And let me explain to you why it's important to increase the protein if you try to lose weight. It's important because, first of all, it's essential for our lean muscle, and lean muscle is essential for our health span and lifespan. Any weight loss, it doesn't matter if you do it with drugs or if you do it with diets, will make us lose equally fat and muscle. And that, a good version, there are actually some versions that can make you lose more muscle than fat. But that's a difference. To predict if you say, I'm going to also calorie starve myself to less than 1,000 calories a day, and you lose lots more muscle than fat, and you're not necessarily doing it right. So if you do that, the problem with losing muscle, it doesn't matter for what noble purpose, after age 40, it's kind of irreversible. Okay? So it's extremely difficult to compensate for it, and it's much worse in women than in men. And the reason is, particularly postmenopausal women, you lose a huge source, losing your estrogens, not all of it, but a lot of it, at menopause. Estrogens are important not only to keep your bones strong and retain calcium, but also keep your muscles strong, just like for men is testosterone. Okay? And if you do that, then you're going to lose lots more, and that's called sarcopenia. Here's some sobering data for women. 40% of women older than 65 eat less than 60 grams daily. And you say, well, that sounds good. Well, there's a catch. If you eat 60 grams daily, but you need 100 grams daily, you're actually losing muscle every day. You get weaker, 25% will have a fall, all right, 1 out of 5. If you get your first fracture, less than half will be alive a year later. And the ones who are alive are disabled. That's not quite good life. So yeah, we want to keep our muscles strong, particularly for our women, because this is the reason why Medicare spends 90% of their money in the last year of life. Okay? And is it preventable? The answer is yes, if we pay attention to what we need to do, and particularly if you were to lose weight. So weight loss that leads to muscle loss sacrifices short-term for long-term lifespan and longevity and health span, increases the risk of hip fractures and also Alzheimer. The single most important predictor whether that protects us against Alzheimer and also predicts how long we're going to live, it's actually the hand grip strength, all right, and the ability to exercise. Aerobic. If we can do this at any given age and we maintain those, we live way longer and way better quality of life. If you start losing that, we know the end is close. It doesn't matter how you eat. It doesn't matter how healthy you're going to do otherwise. So the relation with nutrition and food is asymmetric, meaning, and longevity is asymmetric. If you eat right, you don't necessarily live longer compared to whatever you're designed based on your genes. But if you eat bad, it will shorten your lifespan and it will make you sick. But if you want to say for a given genetic background, hey, my mom lived 100, I want to live 100. Let's say I want to extend that or keep it at least at that level. Then it's not enough that you're healthy. You actually have to exercise to keep that going there. And also to prevent dementia. So and actually there are some people who say if you exercise enough, you actually can outrun a bad diet. Maybe for few, do that 6 hours a day. But the key is, it's extremely important that you need to keep your muscle intact. And to do that, to keep your muscle strength, you have to have a muscle mass. And to have a muscle mass, okay, you need to do resistant exercise and eat at least 100 grams of protein a day, particularly if you plan to lose weight. Now, I don't know if anybody has tried to eat 100 grams a day and actually count it. And I promise you, if you want to do it from real food, now there are some people who are meatotarians, no problem with those, okay? But for those of us who don't necessarily eat, just 8-ounce steak every, 8 hours, it's not going to be easy to actually get to 100 grams a day of protein. You'll have to work on it, particularly as a woman. And actually, it's more important that not only that, but you have to split it half and half. Half should go for breakfast, and half should go for dinner. And the reason is lunch is not as important, but it's important. Why? Because we want to break the fast for the muscles. At night is when we actually burn our protein, we catabolize our protein to reuse them to provide the amino acids for the rest of the body, liver, brain, to make up for their protein. And that happens at night, and muscle is our reservoir for that. So your first meal of the day has to be rich in protein to stop that. So now muscle starts to get fed, and they get their share of proteins, which again will build during the day. So then at night you have again the ability to keep providing for the other guys. So that's important. And dinner. So you see the meals that go around that fasting state are very important before and after. So that's number one. And of course, another reason is why we should go up on our protein if we try to lose weight is because proteins from real food actually makes you feel full. You're not going to be hungry between meals. That's very important. All right? And because one of the reasons you try to lose weight, you better make sure you're not hungry. That's very important. And then I have a caution: if you decide to fast more than 24 hours, you will get sarcopenia from that. Now, there are some people who train themselves gradually over years that actually don't necessarily get sarcopenia, but most of us who never done it, we just want to, I'm just going to try this fast for 24 hours. Don't. You're going to lose muscle for sure. I'm not sure if you can sustain this on long term. Okay, but you can do 12 hours fasting, and you can do maybe time restricted, what they call 16 hours. I'm okay with that as long as you still eat those 8 hours. Just done. If you've never done it before, don't go crazy into this 24-hour stuff unless you train yourself for a year, so your body has gotten used to and that. So that's important. And if you were to supplement your proteins, the 9 essential amino acids are easy to find from meat. So I'm not going to talk much about that. Just meat up, any version. Now, if you're you're a vegan or vegetarian, soy-based foods like tofu have all 9 essential amino acids, okay? If you like tofu or you prefer it, that's fine. Just know that's still okay. But it's pretty much the only vegan product that by itself has all the essential amino acids. The peas, and if you were to use other, not that they are plants, you can eat plenty of proteins from plants, but you have to combine multiple, then like peas with lentils or beans in order to get all the 9 amino acids. And of course, you're going to have to eat a little more, okay? But it's doable. This is an example: breakfast, lunch, and dinner for various sources of protein. Again, it can get a little trickier if you're vegan, but again, if you combine different veggies, that can happen. And the reason, particularly if you have diabetes or heart failure, to avoid sarcopenia, remember there are 3 elements that we need to avoid muscle mass, muscle loss. One is obvious exercise, but particularly the strength version, against the band, you have to lift some weights. That's very important, but also the aerobic exercise. The second is you need your growth hormones, which are easy when you're younger than 25 because we just got them. Anyway, that's what we're supposed to have. But you're older than 40, you start to lose your growth hormones. So how do we make up for that? Here's how we make up. You actually exercise, but you have to exercise more than 5 minutes. You have to put some effort. You need to go to 30, 45 minutes. You get to 45 minutes in a day, you actually release growth hormone for about 3 hours. And then if you eat your proteins after that, you're going to be good. So you can put effort, and then you can get that hormone come back. All right. You can also, and every patient I ever gotten, if I were able, doesn't matter how sick they were with their heart, if I was able to get them to exercise, they all feel better. I don't have one that didn't get better. Okay. It doesn't necessarily prolong life for this patient, but it makes a big difference in terms of metabolic impact. There's another reason to exercise at least 45 minutes a day. Turns out the muscles signal to the brain by releasing a brain-derived neurotrophic factor that's actually extremely protective against dementia and against memory loss. So we improve your people who, I don't know if you know the story, but Einstein used to actually practice and walk. Whenever he was giving his lecture, he was thinking something, we'll walk 8 hours a day back and forth into his room or play violin. And actually, he says it helps me concentrate. It actually does improve memory. And it's one of the mechanisms, but you have to do it serious enough. So actually, it's potential helping you to prevent dementia. We don't know 100%, but we have a lot of data for that. But the most important part, at least for me, from disease perspective, I would like for you to do is that it you can bypass 45 minutes of exercise, moderate to intensity. It can bypass the insulin resistance because you activate your muscle to skip the liver insulin resistance. And the muscle can listen to exercise and activate this AMP kinase. Doesn't matter if you have fructose around or not. And remember, muscles are half of our body weight. So getting that there improves your metabolic profile, helps for 24 hours to limit the insulin resistance. Big deal. All right. And on top of that, your muscles, your exercise, and all your growth factor you have, if you don't get your protein in, at least 80, 100, you got nothing to build on, okay? So that's very important. Okay. Do we need a break, or shall I still go? All right. Expectations from exercise. Exercise, this is why we fail. We expect the exercise is going to help you lose weight. No. You will never lose weight unless you're going to be an Olympic trainer and do 8 hours a day. I'm talking about you're a merely human like me, no more than an hour and a half a day. You're not going to lose weight that way. But what you're going to do that's huge, and actually I think more important, it helps you to manage, in general, will help you to stay at the same weight if you got that weight down by cutting the ultra-processed food. It brings the cortisol down, and because, so, you know, people talk about stress management. It's probably nothing more useful than actually doing enough exercise. It helps a lot. Improves your insulin sensitivity and actually metabolic dysfunction because you get the muscle to help for what's wrong with the liver. One bout of actually 45 minutes exercise reverses the insulin resistance for 24 hours. It's been shown to help you live longer, and best way to prevent dementia. Keeps the muscle strong, but also strengthens your bones to avoid falls later. And I talk about the effect on the brain function. And it's fascinating, talking about beneficial bacteria. Actually, for some reason, some connection when you exercise promotes your probiotics and the healthy bacteria in the gut. I don't know exactly the mechanism. And how much do we need? You know, Harvard says at least 150 minutes a week. And from which 2 days should be some kind of resistance exercise. If you were to start doing that, I would like for you to do it gradually. You know, you want to gradually increase your strength before you're going to do something serious, but you haven't done it for a while. And that strength exercise is very important. And here's what I recommend. And everybody's got different ways how to do that, but I offer you at least 3 or 4 different options. I like rowing, okay? And I like rowing. Why? Because when we get weak, it's our back muscles that get weak, and particularly the one around the joints. So this is the best, using 90% of those muscles. And it's very time efficient, 10 minutes a day. You don't need to do much. It's excellent for back pain, joint pains, strengthen the muscles and the tendons. So should you decide to also do treadmill or bicycle, then you're less likely you're going to get hurt. You're going to have your joints hurting. It's a low impact, as I mentioned. If you have hip or knee problems, you actually still can do it. And it's good for your bone health, as I mentioned, avoids muscle wasting. And that's one. Let's say you don't like rowing and you don't feel like buying a $300 machine actually in your house, that's fine. You can do the little trampoline, all right? And you say, I'm 70 years old, are you out of your mind? It's unbelievable. Make sure you buy the one with this little handle so you can hold it, and all you need to do is just up and down. Why? Gravitation is the single most potent stimulus for your bones and your muscles. And you don't need to jump. You just need to go up and down. Make sure you have one that's holding. You can find the excellent one for $100. Now, you're younger, or once you get good, you can do more aggressive stuff. But it's unbelievable what gravitation does to you with it. If not, unless you can do jumping jacks, by far the best. But if you're not there yet, you can do this. That's pretty much the equivalent. What about just banding? You know, resistance bands. This is excellent too. I don't care what version you do. You can do it at home. But anything that's resistance, even let's say less time consuming, and you can do it and you adapt your own program, it's fine. Start with that. That's what I was trying to say. Then we can move to aerobic exercise, do some other things. In general, I recommend about 15 minutes strength, about 30 minutes of aerobic. You can alternate. If you want to do 45 minutes, alternate with 15 minutes every other day. It doesn't matter. They say 3-4 days a week. I don't think 3 days is the minimum. I think you get the benefit if you do it as many days a week as you can, minimum 5, do 6 out of 7. What I tell myself to motivate myself, if I got the right to eat, I got the right to exercise. Otherwise, I don't buy the right to eat because I know I'm guilty otherwise, and I will never do it. It's so easy to say no. Okay, so I'm not saying I always say I try to do 6 days a week at least. But, if I can make the time, anybody can make the time. And I am busy. Strenuous exercise at gym is not necessary. You just need to get your heart rate to 120, 130. 75% was the target. And you can ask your doctor, what's my target heart rate? Well, really, it's 220 minus age, and you do 70% of that. All right. And duration is important. When it comes to strength and resistance, duration is not important. You can do just 5-10 minutes as long as you put the load in. But when it comes to aerobic, you need about 30 minutes. And again, it has to be at the level that you should be able to talk. You shouldn't be like, sure, but you can't do anything. No, you should do it at the level you can talk, but it's enough to sweat and not hurt. Just somewhere that fine line you can sustain. All right, when it comes to diet, I like Mediterranean diet. You don't have to do that. But here is what Mediterranean diet is. It's actually a higher fat, lower carb diet. The main idea is that our standard American diet is about 300 grams carbs a day. All right, and really that releases a lot of carbs and starches, and this is the reason why we get these problems with having our insulin from this pulsatile manner to this steady state insulin resistance. And you cannot get out of this, unless you start to cut the refined carbs and oils. That's what I'm saying, because you got to get 24. What's the amount of carbs that you should do? To me, the lower the better. Just search everywhere. As long as it's not from natural, vegetables and stuff, anything you cut is going to get you closer to the goal. All right? I'm not saying you should go on keto diet. That's about 20 grams or less. Okay? But I am saying is the lower, probably below 100. And now it depends also if you start exercising 6 hours a day, that might be a different story. You definitely need more carbs, closer to 100 grams if that's the case. But that's not the case for most of us. And I like what they call the Med Plus diet because you avoid the refined carbs, grains, and sugar. It's excellent Mediterranean Plus diet for type 2 diabetes particularly. And the mainstream is actually it's really more of a high fat diet. A lot of fish, meats, vegetables, leafy greens, olive oil, avocado, as I mentioned. They eat actually dairy, but again, the whole milk version. Now, ideally, you want the grass-fed version, right? But how do you know if that is grass-fed or not? I don't know. But here's the trick. Get the goat or the sheep version, you can find that cheese. You know why? Those things are stubborn. They don't eat grains. They just eat grass. So then you got the better quality version. Doesn't mean they may find a version how they will do that, but I'm just saying that's one trick I do. Good. I can tell you my whole life I thought I have lactose intolerance, and then it turns out when I get the goat cheese or the sheep cheese, I don't have any problem. So clear, it's not lactose that's causing me. I have cow milk intolerance for whatever reason, which I don't know why, but that's my problem. All right. If you were to start eating healthy and you are on insulin or diabetic medicines, please tell your doctor, because they will have to reduce your insulin. They will have to reduce eventually your diabetic medicines. So I keep up, even if I tell my patients that I insist, I keep a very close eye on what's happening, sure, and I have a way, I want to make sure they keep checking it, and I need to know so I can adjust my medicine. It's extremely important so you don't get low sugar. If you have heart failure and you actually cut your sugar meaningfully in your diet, and then I'll have to cut down on my diuretic, and you'll see me how I start to use it every other day, every 3 days, cut the dose, because you won't need so much. The diuretic is just an anti-sodium. That's it. There's no trick to it. So if you cut your sodium retention because you cut your sugar, then I'm going to have to cut my diuretic. So that's important. All right. All right. Now, no diet works unless we can conquer the hunger. Everybody knows that, right? I mean, if you're hungry when you're trying to lose weight, whatever diet you try, it's just not going to happen. And the reason is it's called empathy gap. This is another bias that the psychologists learn. It means that if you're emotional for whatever reason, because you're hungry, you're going to make a decision that will only satisfy your current emotion. It doesn't matter how deleterious or good it is for you. And basically, hungry people cannot make healthy decisions. You're going to eat whatever is next door. That's it. So we got to design a plan that cuts that hunger. But first of all, you have to know what causes your hunger. And you know what causes your hunger? You had craved the sugar and the ultra-processed food. That's actually the number one cause, not because you're hungry. Now, unless you know you haven't eaten for 24 hours, that's a different story. And I've known some of those. So this is how you answer that question. Do you really have a problem with the sugar? Do you have a sweet tooth? You think about food all the time and obsessively. Crave foods when you're not hungry. Crave foods as a coping mechanism. Eating after feeling full. Having reduced control of food intake. Experiencing symptoms of withdrawal. Continuing to eat certain foods despite negative consequences. We all have gone more or less through that. So if you feel that, then you have to accept, I'm one of those 20% who actually is addicted to this stuff. So you're going to have a different approach in order to deal with that. Number one is I'm going to have to design a way that you won't be hungry. Number two, a way that eventually is going to stop your craving. And here's how we stop the craving, all right? We're going to have to give you food that will have to cut first the ultra-processed food that's causing your craving. And I told you, hits that reward pleasure center. And it's very fascinating because, what's good for us, our brain, that's the judgment center, right? The reaction of our smart brain, it's slow because it uses serotonin. The reaction of the reward is quick, is right away. So you can't ever win with your smart brain unless you avoid first, the fast brain, the dopamine. So you have to cut out the processed food if you think you have a chance to buy time to cook for yourself. All right, those quick is very easy to eat out, fall apart, and cheat on yourself. It's way harder to maintain that, and you can't have that ultra processed food around. That's why I say you gotta eliminate it from your house. The second thing you have to do is to use, when you cook or when you eat food that will really stop you from being hungry for at least 6 hours. So here's what works. Anything I tell, eat, starting with a large salad. Let me define large salad. A pound. That's a large salad. Not a leaf. Okay? It's a joke. The BLT sandwich is a joke. Okay? I'm talking about no, you're not going to eat a pound, but that's the idea. That's the direction, close to. Whether it's lettuce or whether it's rabbit food or whether it's vegetables, that's the idea. That means you get enough fiber. That fiber is going to fill you up, distend your stomach, and it's going to last there. So you're not hungry for the next 4 to 6 hours. That's one trick. The second trick is meats and proteins from real deal, like eggs or fish. Bulk up there. That also cuts your hunger between the meals. Big difference. Also, eggs in particular, they have the essential amino acid called tryptophan that converts into serotonin in your brain from the gut. It goes straight to the brain, and that empowers our brain judgment center to have enough of that to counteract what happens with it. And so we start to be content and not missing that. Basically, it's like a dietary or food Prozac that you eat. That's why I like the eggs. And some people say, well, but don't eggs have cholesterol?
Yeah, what about eggs?
That's right. Don't eggs have cholesterol?
Yolk also the whole egg?
That's right. I highly recommend you to eat the whole egg and make sure there's nothing left over. And the reason is everything we do in life, there are risks and benefits. Yes, there is a chance that you get, first of all, the source of eggs will be great. If you can get free-range eggs, then it's good. All right? But if I were to choose even a not free-range egg, all right, versus some fried chicken, it's still a better choice. Okay? Now let's look back at the cholesterol from that yellow part that you said. So first of all, less than 10% of that is going to get in our system. I mean, I don't know what we came up with. There's a lot of cholesterol coming out. The answer is most 90% actually flushes down the toilet. It never gets absorbed. Now, you do get a little bit, but I doubt that's a major contribution. We got 100 if you got a glass of orange juice, you eating 3 eggs with the cholesterol is the least of your problems. Okay, all right. The damage that a glass of orange juice can do compared to that. Then the second is we get so many. I will answer in a second. We get so many benefits from eggs. No carbs, doesn't release insulin, complete nutritional element in everything you can imagine. That, I don't care if there's a little cholesterol there. Plus, we're desperate cholesterol high. We can always negotiate a little cholesterol pill if we need to. All right. I'm the least worried about that. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry, you had the question.
How many eggs roughly a week?
Good one. I was about to get to that. I don't go by week, but I would say you can have 2 or even 3 a day. Please don't quote me. I know I'm being recorded, but you can have 3 as long as good quality, as long as you don't mess up other parts of your diet and you otherwise eat healthy that day. I'm not worried about the damage that a little cholesterol that can bring. Okay?
White or brown?
I don't think the colors matter. More important, if you could secure this free range, that's a better version. I don't think the color matter. Free range chicken, that's the idea. Now, I don't know how free range they are when we buy them, but that's the idea. Okay? But bottom line is, that's that. Or you can combine your half a pound of veggie and half a pound of meat. But the idea is that I promise you, if you eat this, what I put here on the left, you're not going to be hungry for at least 4, 5, 6 hours. But you got to bulk up. You cannot just have a little. That's number one. So bottom line is, to take control over your food intake requires planning your meals, okay, to avoid hunger between. You have to plan. It's not going to happen otherwise. And then we have the stress. And the stress releases cortisol. And then we're going to go back to the ultra processed that I just got out of the house. I'm going to go next door at the gas station. And that's what's going to happen because it activates our amygdala. How do we counteract that? Well, we're about to, it's 9 o'clock in the evening, and I'm just going to go, I feel like I'm hungry. I'm going to open the fridge door. Has anybody from here never done that? We all have done it. We all do it every day, right? And you just ate an hour ago. As a matter of fact, you had the nice ice cream too, and a cookie, and a crack, and you're still hungry an hour later. So if you do that, now ask yourself, why am I doing this? Remember, our front part of the brain is kind of slow. Buy a little time for it. That's how you manage that. So ask yourself, am I doing this because I'm hungry? You just ate an hour ago, you're not hungry. That's not what it is. You feel hungry, but you are not. Second, okay, if it's not that I'm actually hungry, I'm well fed. What is it? Is it because maybe I'm stressed out? I was just thinking about something else, or I just had a fight with somebody. You're actually stressed out. You have cortisol. So then know this, that your basic instinct from amygdala to be stressed out by something else will hit on you having to eat to calm it down for 5 minutes. But it's not going to fix the problem. So go back to your original stressor and say, wait a minute, I'm not hungry. I'm actually stressed out about it. Okay, how am I going to address this? Let me think about it. What can I do? And you'll see how, when you start to have your own conversation with yourself, what and why, that just even identifying the trigger, you may not succeed the first day. The first day you may still go in the fridge, but the second, third day you keep practicing this front guy is going to get smarter and he's going to help you. That's actually one of the strategies. There are a lot of that's used for addiction programs to get rid of other things. People who smoke, they ask, okay, you want to smoke? Fine, go ahead, smoke. Tell me how you feel. Tell me why you're doing it. Does it really give you the kick? And you start to do that. And you see how suddenly, instead of thinking on the back part of your brain, that's what all dogs and cats have, we start to think with the front, and by some time, and with time, we actually learn to make the connection, probably take back and control what we do. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is, if I want a snack, please don't make it worse by eating the sweet and the processed. Go for the apple, because trust me, it's only so many apples you're going to eat, okay? Grab something, make sure you always have something healthy as a snack. Again, whether it's celery, carrots, sticking in, apples, anything, it's still a better choice. And then, remember, you can only prevent this with real food. You're not going to be, unless you're able to eat in that moment and you have it in the fridge, that's fine. If you could do that, all right, eat the real deal. And these are different versions of what you can do, but basically lots of veggies and salads, a lot of fiber, lots of meat, That makes a difference. What about sweets we need? You guys know what this, I don't have to tell you. There are sweets like that. There are natural sweets too that we need to stay away from. There's nothing natural that's using unnatural amounts that makes the difference. And no, I don't agree with sweeteners unless you're so addicted to that sugar that you need a few months to stay off that. And then eventually try to wean yourself off sweeteners too, okay? But in terms of disease, like 2 equivalent Diet Pepsi, okay, 2 Diet Pepsi is equivalent to 1 classic one, despite of no calorie policy. And the reason why I don't like it is the very things, but there's no calories, so there shouldn't be any damage. And then what you do, you don't just drink 1 or 2, you keep drinking a lot of those because you think there is no problem. And that is the problem. 2 equals 1. You still have, because it changes your gut bacteria and you still get the insulin-resistant metabolic syndrome problem. Okay? It doesn't work. And also I could use the other counter argument. They have tried to use it for diabetes and for patients who are busy are trying to lose weight, to replace sugar with a diet. There are actually plenty of studies we have. Nobody ever lost 1 gram compared to the ones who are on regular sugar. So it doesn't. If it's so important that the 0 calories makes a difference, then why it doesn't make a difference to lose weight? All right? So I like for you to, when you start to consider cutting the solid foods, I like for you to look at the beverages first. Those are easier to pick up. Number 1 is you can drink coffee, which is great. All right? But drink it black. Now, this is going to take some change. It took me about 6 months to switch from the cream sugar-based coffee to this. I did this about 15 years ago. It takes time. I get it. But you can wait. All right? And the way it works is every 3 weeks, we completely regenerate our bud taste. So you have to be off completely for at least 3-4 weeks. And after that, you'll see how you're going to have new bud taste. Suddenly, what used to taste bad, starts to taste much better. Expect that once you cut the sugar, the first 3 weeks, you're going to be miserable, okay? Your taste will change, I promise you, and you will start suddenly feeling, and the food will taste completely different, much better quality after you're completely off it. It takes time. Anything that it's with vegetables, like arugula or stuff that you never liked before, I say, I don't like fish. It's not my thing. Oh, arugula is not my thing. Here's how you need to know. You need to retrain your bud taste to work with that. It takes about 15 different trials to actually get there. The reason why you never like it, you never tried hard enough and being exposed enough. At one point, you just did one thing and chose that. Second, anything with sweet will actually, if you have a sweet taste, will completely annihilate the other taste. So you're going to have to work a little bit and make yourself patient and try at least 14, 15 times a new food. I'm talking about healthy food, not some weird stuff. Yes. Okay. Sweet tea. Look, I want you to change your sweet tooth. And you don't have any choice if you don't really switch to this thing. And doesn't mean you cannot do it. But then you'll have a different taste. You'll still taste plenty of sweet. It's just a different kind of sweet you don't understand yet. Unsweet tea, water, squeeze a lemon if you want for water tastes bad. The reason why water tastes bad, and I cannot believe I'm saying that, is because sugar in everything made it so you'll never like it again. It has nothing to do how the water tastes. You just need to be off for about 3-4 weeks, and then you'll appreciate everything I tell you. Avoid, of course, limit juicy smoothies, vitamin water. Don't fall for that. No sugar added vitamin water. There's nothing there. Yes, it is. Is it sweet? Do you like it? Yes, you got your Splenda there, your sweetener. Also, for a formula that's patented, so for example, they are correct if they say no sugar added, but it can still be sugar in the patented formula. They're not legally not required to disclose. So they could cheat just fine. We just don't know. Bottom line is, if you like it, whatever is the flavor, is the FEPS thingy, all you do is just keeps you in the same loop of liking sweets and sugar. And I don't like that. No beverage with, you saw those coffees that I was showing you? Cinnamon, caramel, pumpkin flavor. As soon as you do that, those have the highest possible sugar content. Stay away from that, okay? Unless you make your own, whatever you do at home, and add your own pumpkin. I don't even know if that's true, but anyway, that's a different story. FEPS, that's my problem with that. Okay, protein bars. How do we read the label? This is important. Here's the deal. Is this a protein bar? Let's see. Here is, we look at the total carbs. We subtract the fiber. So you don't look at the sugars or sugar added. Ignore that. Look at the total carbs. 37 minus 5, 32. 32 divided by 4, because 1 teaspoon of sugar is 4. You got 8 teaspoons of sugar, correct? That's what we are. That's all you need to read from a label. Other than if you see a lot of more than 2 or 3 ingredients, that's the FEPS, then ignore it. Because all it means, whatever you eat, you are just having your nice dessert there. You're not getting your protein. Let's assume, yeah, it does have 10 grams of protein. You know what? It could have 100 grams of protein. Nothing wrong with that. Except once you have the sugar, the fructose there, your liver is going to just put it in and store it as fat. That protein is not going into your muscle. That protein is extra money that the liver has to save and will not make it available from anybody else. Okay? That's the problem, is the fructose that comes with it. All right? So no, this is not a protein bar. This is a fructose bar. And or simple, if you really want to be absolute, I don't believe in absolutes. Don't go into the aisle with the labels. Go in this way. We all need shop at the periphery. Easier said than done. But that's a simpler way if it has a label. And then here is a good label. I saw this is all just products you need if you were to make a bread. It's got a lot of names you don't know. That's how to process. All right? We went over this. This is just a reminder. Anything that just comes natural and doesn't have a label, take it, cook it at home any which way you want it, add any spices you want. Hey, you can have a little salt for your taste. I'm fine with that. Just skip the sugar part, okay? Go for breakfast. Let's debunk breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. And then we're done. Breakfast. You want to use protein because it doesn't trigger your insulin, but also high amounts of protein will stop your muscles from being fasting and breaking down, right? So you want to have veggies, berries, fiber, and ideally increase your omega-3. So what about this breakfast? Disaster, all but the eggs. Orange juice, disaster. Doesn't mean you should never have it. You can have small, amount, but I'm just saying, potatoes, you can have a little bit if you do everything else right. But how about plain Greek yogurt with some fruits? Nothing wrong with that. You can add some nuts, but don't get the one that already has the berries or the fruits in it. Just make it yourself. All right? Cereals? No. Sausages, processed meat. That's a no-no. All right? What about this? Do you think this will taste good? Basically, it's just some toast, good, Ezekiel bread. You have some wild salmon. It could be smoked. In general, try to avoid it, but if you don't have it, that's still great. All right, so you don't need to cook that. Some onions, red onions, and 2 eggs or it could be boiled, and you put some cheese on top of it. And cheese, you can use cottage cheese, you can use mozzarella. In general, try to have the healthier cheese, not the absolute, the one that's soft, not the hard, dry cheeses, the aged cheeses. Doesn't mean you cannot have those. You can have those for taste, but don't use it as a large amount. You'd rather go with the cottage cheese or more of a soft mozzarella kind of cheeses. And then, trust me, I know it's difficult to foresee that you can have arugula salad for breakfast. I can see somebody not feeling good about this, but it goes really well with the salmon sandwich with avocado salad. Trust me, try it, okay? Same here, eggs, tomatoes, some peppers, and some, that can happen too. What about this? Was not the breakfast. Here is, I love this. This is strawberry parfait, okay? It has fruit, yogurt, whole grain. It's all whole grain. Everything is great. Okay, let's read the label. What we're going to check out? Well, first of all, I don't have the other part where it shows you there's a lot of stuff going on there, but I'm going to show we're going to look only at the total carbs, right? Total carbs, 70. That's already a red flag. Let's subtract the fiber because they will advertise it comes with a lot of fiber, and it does. Actually, that's quite a bit of fiber. 70 minus 13, though, we got a 53. All right? Forget about added sugar. So we divide that by 4. What do we have? 20 teaspoons almost of sugar. That's not breakfast. That's dessert. Depends. And that's okay if that's what you want and you're not going to eat for the next 24 hours because you're trapped somewhere in the dessert. But short of that, just don't think you're eating healthy. At least acknowledge that. okay? And that's fine. And, this is an example of dessert. Think, no, that's crazy. Nobody eats that. Well, that's what my wife was having, okay? So I know for a fact. And that's, what about peanut butter? We're going to talk about that. All right. So cut the cereal, the granola bar, protein bars, and starches for breakfast. You need protein to break your fast, which is important for your muscles. And cereals, no, are just dessert. And I'm adding a bowl of cereals, whole grain or not, I don't care. You add your low-fat milk, and this is how much sugar you get altogether, 16 teaspoons from a small bowl. I'm not saying a big one, okay? All we want is comfort and convenience, someone else to cook. Here's where, instead of this, I want you to try this, scrambled boiled eggs with vegetables, and I showed you some examples. Plain whole-fat Greek yogurt with nuts and sliced fruit, and you can eat 2 of those. I don't care, all right? What about plain oatmeal with berries and nuts? That's a healthier choice than cereals. It's not my healthiest choice compared to the other 2. The reason is it's still a bunch of carbs and nothing else. And remember, carbs are not necessary. Our body can make it. That's not the problem. Now, if you have diabetes or you plan to lose weight, oatmeal is not going to help you. Now, if you are thus healthy and just have some taste for oatmeal, or you got nothing else in your house, then that's okay, better than cereals. But that's where I see the oatmeal between, because it's 27 grams of carbs. Indeed, if you have the, still cut ones that you actually cook, those are better, and it's just glucose. There is no fructose there. But if you use the instant one, it's a disaster. So that's a different story. And it has 4 grams of fiber. It comes with something, not much protein, but it still has 5 grams, and it's not necessarily all essential amino acids, but it's still a better choice than the other. So we only have 6 spoons. What about the eggs and hard-boiled eggs? So I showed you already. It's the best thing. What about this kind of breakfast? This is what we get. We go to a hotel, and we got free continental breakfast. Other than the boiled egg and the black coffee, I don't know what you can choose, and maybe some fruits if you're careful which one you choose. Okay. Yeah. All right, but it's still a choice. All right. Yeah, that's right. You got a good point. But what about this? This is a simple, breakfast. You basically have a toast, slice of toast, avocado, and then you put your egg on top of it and some cheese. Go ahead.
What the bowl of cereal that you showed?
Yeah.
Like 70 grams or whatever.
Yeah.
Where were the carbs?
The carbs for the cereals?
In the cereal, yeah. Was it added sugar?
Oh, no.
Just the cereal
The
itself?
cereal is from grains, it's carbs.
So just the...
Well, sometimes they add 2. All I can do is read the label. That's why I show you. And it says total carbs. Whatever it says on the total carbs, that's what it is. They have to declare minus the fiber, and then you divide by 4. All I'm trying to tell you, don't look at the added sugar. If you see no added sugar, you think it's safe. It means nothing. Look at the total carbs, because they can have hidden sugar into where it says total carb. That's why I rather go with total carbs, subtract the fiber, and then you divide that by 4. And you get a guesstimate of how much you're getting, all right? And again, you don't necessarily have to look at all these carbs as long as you know there is no sugar. But if you have diabetes, you got heart failure, you're sick, metabolic sick, I think you do need to look, okay? And these are examples of breakfast that you can combine with your avocado and your eggs, and very simple. It doesn't take long. And this is another example, Mediterranean diet. In your little booklet, I actually put there the links of the websites that you can look for recipes if you are interested. These are different examples, there are excellent choices there. Let me see, Greek. It doesn't have to be Greek, but anyway, these are some examples. What about lunch? Lunch, combine a big salad with some meats and some fish. Very simple. All right. Of course, you can have hummus if you want. No problem with that. You have some veggies. But the key is you want to get close. This is one of the 2 meals that I want you to be close to 1 pound of vegetable salads, if you could. But at least half. Okay, you cannot do a pound, but at least half. Bulk it up as much as you can, because a lot of fiber then will keep you steady so you don't look for snacks until dinner comes. Tofu can be a good replacement, particularly for those who like it, for proteins okay, this is a standard, a big bowl of salad that you can add, your fish or salmon or whatever you like. Could lentil soup you can cook in an Instapot, a gallon of lentil soup takes about half an hour. Really, the whole boiling process, 15 minutes. Preparation takes maybe not 10 minutes. And then you can have that thing for the whole week, and you just put it there and warm it up. It's excellent. All right? But here's a quick lunch and dinner that anybody can do. It takes 5 minutes. Okay, if you're desperate and you can still eat healthy and get your 40 grams of protein. Have unlimited supply of the wild Alaskan pink salmon, or it could be sardines in olive oil, just not the smoked version. Remember, if you smoke your fish, you just kill the omega-3s. Can't heat things up. Just let them store in extra virgin oil, the same with the salmon. Now, I'm not saying when you want the smoked salmon because you want it for the taste, I'm okay with that. Just don't count. That will be a source of protein, not necessarily your omega-3s. Okay, that's all. But bottom line is, you can have this, and we have a lot at home. Buy this from Costco. I like, it doesn't have to be this brand. It doesn't. What matters is make sure they're not preserved and they're not smoked, and they are preserved in extra virgin oil. And then what you do, look how many grams of protein. I'm not kidding you. This literally is 20 grams protein. You put 2, you're done with the protein. And it's easy to actually eat that, and I'll explain to you why. Because, look, you dump it on a boiled salad. You can have also some eggs around, and you make up extra. And say, I'm not crazy about sardines, right? And here's why you are not crazy, because you don't know how to eat it, all right? What you need to do is, the question is, what do we do with that olive, with the oil? So, I Google it, see what they say. Hey, ChatGPT actually came back and he says, it is generally recommended to drain the liquid from canned sardines. However, he turned it around, well, but if your taste is you like that thing, that's fine too. But it started with actually what initially to drain it. Well, we also have the world experts. Humans are very, very, confident when they actually make a statement in those charts. And says, no, leave the oil and use it in the dish. If there ain't more, drain it, or better drink it yourself. Anybody ever tried that? Okay, I agree. Please don't. Let me tell you why they put it in the extra virgin oil. It's actually not to show off, because everybody thinks, of course it's going to be a plus because it'll sell easier because everybody likes extra virgin and it looks healthier. The reason is to preserve the taste of the sardines to be as natural as possible and not oxidize the omega-3. You need to have an antioxidant on, and what happens is the extra virgin olive oil serves to protect the fish. But in exchange, they get oxidized. So get rid of that. Because all I care for now, if you have the taste for that, that's fine. You like that, that's okay. But if you want from health perspective, get rid of that. But really don't leave your fish then for the next 2 hours before you eat. Get rid of it as soon as you are ready to eat and make the salad quickly. And that's the idea. And on top of that, do it how the Greeks do. Squeeze a lemon on top of it. Not only they will get rid of any, if you don't like fishy smell, get rid of that. You'll think it's chicken. Then on top of the salad and also the extra lemon squeeze, the antioxidants from that actually protects the fish until you eat it, and you still preserve all the nutrition part. Okay, and that's go ahead.
What about tuna fish?
Tuna fish, nothing wrong with tuna fish. I'll stick to no more than once a week because it's got a lot of mercury. That's why I said eat marine fish. They are small. They're eaten by other fish because they don't live. The longer the fish lives, the more like it gets loaded with mercury. So the small fish like sardines, herrings, cod, they don't live too long. They don't get low. Then I don't have to worry about you, particularly pregnant women, that you can't eat more than once a week or something like that. Okay, so that's very important. This way I can tell you eat as much as you want, so we don't have to keep it dry. But tuna fish once a week, it's okay. All right. What about this? What about snacks? My principle is if you actually did your homework and you actually cooked and ate those 2 meals like I told you, I promise you, you are not going to be hungry. Okay? If you didn't, that means you didn't do too good. Then you're going to be hungry because you had some sugar. And no, remember, there's no nutrition value in this. You're just doing it because you want to do it. It's got nothing to do with that. What about dry fruits? No, because they're loaded with sugar. What about grass-fed yogurt or milk. I guess if you really have to do something, I'm okay with the whole fat version. Don't do anything that's flavor or already has stuff in it. Just the plain one, which I'm sure not many of you are going to enjoy it unless you add some fruit separate. Okay. And then peanut with depends which one. Here's the fruits, dry fruits. This is 1 ounce, 32 grams of carbs, 2 grams of fiber. You subtract 32 minus 2, 30, divide by 4. It still shows it's 7 teaspoons and a half. And guess what? It's got no added sugar. It just so happens it's sweet and everything is natural. And that's why I gave you the rule about total carbs. Because you will think there is no sugar. You know there's sugar there because that's why you're eating it.
So what about peanut butter?
Good point.
Without sugar.
That's well, without sugar. And let's see. Depends which peanut butter you're talking about. Here is the peanut butter that is 80% of the brands are available. You see, look at the labels. It says contains 2%, which means almost nothing. But it does have about 10 different ingredients of 2% of nothing. Okay? Hydrogenated vegetable oil. If you see that, that equals trans fats, by the way. Because as long as it's below a certain percent, it's still legal. But remember, whatever you eat that, it just accumulates in your body. Also, it's just telling me this is ultra processed. It doesn't mean you cannot find good, healthy peanut butter. My wife actually taught me because she loves it. And this is a good one. What do you see in this one? 2 ingredients, peanuts and salt. And guess what? I got no problem with you getting some salt from this. All right? Just avoid the other stuff. And you find it. Otherwise, all this here are the FEPs, flavor enhancer, emulsifiers, preservative sweeteners. All right. What are there? You can have some nuts if you're absolutely desperate. You can have some celery. You can have some berries. Okay? Just don't have. What about the good stuff? Rice and pasta. I call it white starches. Well, I would highly discourage if you're diabetic, and particularly diabetes is not controlled, from eating those. You absolutely need some rice. Brine rice is a little better, just like the oatmeal is a little better than cereals. But it's not much difference. It's still just all carbs, but it's better. Okay? And the same whether you have the wheat pasta versus white pasta. Here is a better deal. This Instapot, you can cook this in Instapot in 20 minutes. Beef stew, any kind of meat stew with any veggies you want to combine, any which way. And, it's fabulous. It doesn't take long to cook. There are thousands of recipes out there. It takes about half an hour to do, and you can have a batch for a whole week. Depending what Instapot you have, 1 gallon, 2 gallons, they're up to 4 gallons, whatever you want, okay? So you can have it there available. And now if I were to replace rice, potato, and pasta, we can replace your white flour instant with these flours. Again, I'm not crazy for flours, but you're still better choice. Still cut oatmeal, absolute, compare instant oatmeal, but you'll have to cook it and it takes time. And instead of your carbs coming from rice or white potatoes, it's better to do it from lentils and beans, any version, or sweet potatoes, okay? And I already talked about the oils. Really, I don't like vegetable oils. And then unless you can use some sunflower oil just for salad, just don't fry with it, okay, or cook with it. And then, olive oil, avocado oil, olive oil extra virgin. Now, there's a catch with the extra virgin oil. They say, I don't know how true it is, 80% of what we have in this country is kind of counterfeit. It's not the real deal. I'm not an expert with that. We buy what we have from Costco. Tastes good for me. But obvious would be nice if we'll know if it's good or not. But there is a trick, apparently. You have to look through it and pour some into a transparent glass. And if you can see through it, that's not real olive oil. It's, the real oil is actually cloudy, extra virgin oil, because it's got stuff left over from the olives and what we call the antioxidants and the fiber. So I'm not saying it should be turbulent, because otherwise, who knows, they can go the other way around. So I don't want to tell this anybody, but I'm just saying that's one trick that people say it's good to do. Grass-fed Kerrygold Irish butter, nothing wrong with that, and you can cook with that. All right. What about dinner? Dinner, see, I'm not talking about the meat here first. I always start with the salad. Make your own dressing, but first of all, please make your own dressing. It'd be just a little sprinkle of olive oil or balsamic vinegar. Or you can have, you don't like the balsamic vinegar, that's fine. Then try something like a lemon-based dressing. You can make it yourself. It's amazing taste. You don't have to worry about, I put there a link, but really, you can combine and you can make large batch of olive oil with lemon, garlic, pasta, whatever version you want, as long as you can put even a little salt if that's, and then you have your little batch, and then you can just take it everywhere, use it everywhere. It's not a problem. I'm more interested in how much salad you're going to prepare for yourself and vegetables. And we're going to try to target that half a pound to at least a half a pound if you hate it, and a pound if you like it. How's that? That good? All right. Oh, man. All right. Here's cooking device is actually very important. I highly encourage you to have a cooking tool. It doesn't matter whether it's grill or not. It's worth a little extra money to actually be able to regulate the temperature you cook at. That's the single most important. All right, so I like this. It doesn't have to be an expensive one. You can get the cheapest one, but make sure you can grill it, you know, around 300 degrees. If you're absolute rush, you can do for a few minutes, 350 at the very end, but try to keep it around 300 or so or less. This is an Instapot. It doesn't have this one. I don't know which one it is. It's a pressure cooker with, it cooks extremely healthy, and you can combine. It makes it so easy. Everything is automatic, and find that, you know, recipes on the internet. It's unbelievable. Anybody. This makes a world-class chef from you in less than 30 minutes. Okay, it's unbelievable, and it's super healthy. It's not that difficult. Okay, I don't care which brand, whatever you like, it's fine. Now, Japanese from Okinawa, we learned some tricks from them. And also those from blue zones who live a long time. So one of the things they do, they eat slow, and they eat only, I don't know the word in Japanese, but they only eat until they're 80% full, if you could do that. Now, you cannot do the 80% if you eat ultra-processed food, the French fries, and you're going to always have to overfill with that. But I promise you, if you have your 1 pound of salad, and then the rest and the veggies, and then the meat, you can stop at 80%, okay? You'll be fine, because you have help from Mother Nature, which designed us for that, okay? Another trick is that the Italians from Sardinia and other Blue Zone do, they actually walk 15, 20 minutes after they eat. So I don't know if you can do it for lunch, but at least one, either lunch or dinner or both. Try to make this goal, you know, we just ate, we enjoy, just walk out for 20 minutes after that. Why? Your muscles start to use some of that stuff, that good stuff. Doesn't get time to get deposited there. And also, it's a good chance for them, instead of all those proteins to go into your liver, in case somebody else is in it, to actually some of it start and go into your muscles after that. Although, and less insulin release, it's a good thing. All right, we already talked about the rest of it. Let's see, which one? Anything else? No, this part. Okay, example of dinners. Let's see. I mean, who doesn't like this? Is it hard to make, those who are actually cooks? No. Okay, and let's say I want to eat this dinner out. You can go to a Mexican restaurant and just pick the fajitas and the veggies. Tastes delicious. Just keep the chips, and you can have the salad. I'm okay with that. Okay, but it's gonna be difficult. You have to dump it on the chicken. Yeah, without the chips. That's my problem with salad. I'm gonna tempt you to eat the chips too. Okay, so but it's not that hard. You can actually eat healthy if you're selective outside too. And then this is from meatitarians here. What you see on the right, you know, can bring up. But ideally, we recommend a free-range chicken or grass-fed beef. But if I were to pick between non-free range or non-grass-fed and a burger from God knows awful place, please stick with, you can still have the non-free range one and cook it yourself. Okay, all right. And fish, I'm biased for fish. I really think at least ideally one meal a day if you could, if not at least one meal every other day. You should have a good 6 ounces of some form of fish, because we need our omega-3s who are very deficient. I'm sorry, there's a delay when I push on this. And these are some dishes that basically we cook at home, also from a patient of mine whose wife graciously agreed to let us use some of this. This is just the same principle. lots of veggies. Oh, mushrooms, very good. Any version, I don't care. Just don't fry them. Or maybe a little bit of, but not much. And you can add a lot of stuff. And there is some evidence that actually eating 3 ounces of mushrooms a day confers 50% risk protection from cancer. The same way, believe it or not, you say, why would you ever drink black coffee? Makes no sense. Actually, the single most important food we have that has been shown to protect us from fatty liver and liver cirrhosis is actually coffee. Yeah, you know what? Activates that AMP kinase. Crazy. It makes the liver think you're fasting and activates that enzyme. All right? And you start burning. Coffee. Yes. So there is a reason trick. Now, the bad news, I told you, is a little brown, you get on the brown. But again, I like to keep it less brown. So you have the breakfast, you have the, dark roast version. Try to go less with the dark roast, more with the breakfast mild roast, because the browning differs. The dark roast has lots more browns, lots more oxidized part of it as opposed to the mild. I know we like that more, the taste, but keep it on the mild side if you could, okay? So, but that's, there are some things that are benefits from just that, from food. What about this? This is what we ate, the other week we were on vacation. That's what we ate out. We could eat out. We ate, 3 or 4 times. And I just didn't touch the chips or the other stuff. Ate the beans, Mexican, fajitas, it was delicious, no problem. What about this? Okay. All right. No, there is no healthy version of mac and cheese, even if you make it at home. I'm sorry. Okay. Now, actually, there is healthier. If you literally just take your, the macaroni and you warm them up, you add the cheese on top of that and use minimal basic sauce, okay? That's still a better version if you want to. Just don't have it too often, okay? Just don't add anything else, In other words, try to cook the mac and cheese like the Italians will cook their pasta. How's that? All right? Good source and minimal ingredients, okay? That's the idea. And you can serve yourself once a week like that. Not if you have poorly controlled diabetes, but short of that, I think it's fine. All right? Nah, that's not going to work. What about I like the veggie burgers. That's the best. Look at the label. You know how to identify the FEPs? Anything other than the whatever it's supposed to be, and 20 other ingredients you don't know, cut that out. All right? It makes no difference. It's the same. You might as well eat the real burger. At least you know what you get there. But let's say you go out and you want to eat a burger and you got no choice, you're trapped with your friends and you absolutely have to eat out. You can actually eat a burger every once in a while. Just eat 2 burgers, as a matter of fact, the patties and the salad and the cheese, and just skip the tomato juice or the French fries or the buns, okay? And so what I do, you order a big salad, and then you have your 2 burgers. It's like you're dumping the burger instead of the fish on your top of your salad. And I promise you it's going to taste delicious, and you won't feel the buns or anything else. Okay? But skip that if you're absolutely desperate, you have no other choice. It's okay. All right? Every once in a while. What about desserts? Oh, that's right. You got it right. I was trying to figure out what it is, but you're right. That's what it is. Dessert is for happy birthday. All right. This was delicious last week. But anyway, what about dessert? It's a treat. That's how you need to see it. That's what I meant. It's really a treat. No, you're gonna do evil to your body, but you also have to satisfy your sweet tooth. I get it. All right. And I say, if you're healthy, otherwise, once a week is fine. If you're not healthy but not diabetic, maybe once a month. And if you're diabetic and it's poorly controlled, you can do whatever you want. But one of those things can put you in the hospital with the sugar if you're diabetic poorly controlled. Okay? So I wouldn't recommend. What about chocolate? Dark chocolate, very low sugar. Dark chocolate, excellent, right? Yes?
What percentage of chocolate?
Let's say the best version, 70% or higher. How about we go 90%? It's irrelevant. it's still dessert. And you'll say, okay, Sorescu, you're just ridiculous. You are one of those guys that Einstein said, stay away from negative people. They have a problem for every solution. So I'm just a negative person, you think. Here is Consumer Report this month came out. They analyze every chocolate in America. It's the biggest source of actually heavy metal that we can have. It's dark chocolate. And cadmium, it's lead, and it's mercury. Doesn't mean all chocolate is the same. There's actually, you just Google it. This one, you can just Google it and go to Consumer Report, West Side chocolate, good healthy chocolate. You can go through it and they'll tell you which one. I just picked one that I saw there. And again, I'm not voting for this one. But this is the Lindt, this 90% cocoa dark chocolate appears to be the least in terms of that part. But for me, actually, I don't care because I don't want you to eat everyday chocolate. I'm trying to, cut the addiction from sugar. If you have it every day, you'll never come off that thing. I understand once a week. That's why I say treat it still as a dessert. It doesn't matter how much sugar you have or not. It's irrelevant. And then also, then you find out years later, you're loaded with other stuff that you don't know why you feel like you don't feel good. That's a separate story. So I say, dessert is a treat for our brain, but it's a food desert for our body. And you have to know that and act accordingly. But remember, once you put it in your mouth, all that goes away. It doesn't matter. All right. So now I wouldn't encourage to have it every day just because you're not going to have it just once a day. You're going to have it every 5 minutes. Once you start and go that way, you're not going to control yourself. All right. And these are examples from my patients. And then, this is like, I mean, his wife is so good. I am amazed how, I couldn't design this better. This is similar to actually how we eat when we cook, which is most of the time, but not me, my wife. But anyway, this is excellent choices of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you see, follows these principles. Half of the plate, close to a pound, is veggies or mushrooms or something else that is not meat. The other is meat. And you don't see, the only source of carbs here are the beans, all right? And avocados and a little bit, but or some veggies, but nothing else. That's great. Doesn't mean you cannot have a slice of bread as long as it's good quality. I'm just saying it depends what your goal. Here, the goal is to try to fix diabetes without insulin. All right? And these are some other examples. Arugula salad. Yummy. All right. And this is the final. You have it in your booklet. All the principles are listed there. I just want to point out this one, right? The main 2 meals. Try to bulk up. If you don't want to be hungry between and you don't want to find yourself opening the fridge door at 9 o'clock or in the middle of the day you're at work and I'm hungry again, I just ate lunch, it's because you actually didn't follow these principles. And that I promise you, you're not going to be hungry. You're going to be able to barely eat these 2 meals. All right, you can have some breakfast if you get lucky with that. Okay, and I think I'm gonna stop here. Ready, everything else I told you already. Okay, that's it. Whoa, 4 hours. Okay.